Hey guys, Diane here, and today I'm going to be giving you a list of my recent reads. Some of these I had on my Halloween TBR, some of them I just kind of ran across at the library, so hit that like and subscribe button and we'll get into it. Okay, so let's start this list off strong. This is probably going to be one of my top reads, not only for the Halloween season, but just for the whole year. So my first one is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. And I hadn't planned on reading this, but I ran across it at the library, so I was like, okay, this is a great cover. This is perfect for Halloween. But this is about a young girl. She lives in a society where it's ran kind of like a Warren Jeffs type situation, cult era, where girls are married off young to old men, and it's just really gross. But there's also the dark wood, and there is kind of a calling that she's having, that she wants to go to the dark wood. Something's calling her. There's not really an explanation as to why she's just drawn to it so much. But in the dark wood, there's supposed to be witches and things like that. But this book was so good, and this story was so, like, I was so entranced by it, I just could not put this book down. I would have finished this probably in like a day or less if I really had the time to devote to one book. But this book, I just really loved it. I loved all the characters. I loved how the story was so easily written and it flowed so well, and it was really dark, but it was also super cozy at the same time, which is one of my favorite things in a book, especially in fall and Halloween. So this is definitely, I would definitely recommend this pretty much any time of the year, but this is perfect for Halloween, especially if you're looking for more of a witchy book, but you want it to be a little more cozy. I mean, this is just where it's at. And so next we have Slade House by Richard Matheson. And this was on my Halloween TBR, which I will link. But this book was kind of described as the Mount Everest of haunted house books. And it was. This book was amazing. This book was phenomenal. I really enjoyed this book. So this was about a group of people who are going to a haunted house. And this haunted house has a lot of lore surrounding it. People have died there. They've committed suicide. There's all these crazy things that have happened in this house. And there's a group of people that are going there now to figure out, is it a hoax? Is this real? Kind of, they're like investigating it, I guess you could say. But this book goes to really dark places I had not thought it would. You know, with some older books, you kind of think like, oh, this is older, it's not going to be as dark and demented as some of the new stuff. And that's so not true. I don't know why I keep thinking that, because it's really just not true. But this book was really good. I loved all the characters. They felt three-dimensional to me. The house itself was scary. It was spooky. I mean, this is this will probably be my favorite haunted house book of any haunted house book. It was so good. I just loved this book so much. So, and if you're looking for something for Halloween to really kind of scare you, to really get in the spooky vibes, I would definitely recommend this. This book was so good. It was amazing. And then we have The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. So this was not really something I was planning on reading, but I had it on my library app and my daughter wanted to listen to it. So I was like, you know what, I'll give it a try. And it's only like an hour long. We listened to it on, on Audible, and it was just really cozy. It's really atmospheric. It's kind of more of a, almost kind of like ambiance in the background, I guess you could say, but it was super cozy. And if you're wanting to maybe do something more kid-friendly where you want it just for everybody to listen to, I would definitely recommend that, because it was just a fun Halloween listen and it was just super cozy. And then we have The Narrows by Ronald Malfi, and this was another book I wasn't planning on reading, but Ronald Malfi is quickly becoming one of my favorite authors. And this is about a sleepy town in Maryland. It's kind of dying. It's just not doing well. But some kids have gone missing. There's also some weird things going on with the animals, and you're kind of trying to figure out if they're connected, how they're connected, and you're kind of going with the sheriff from, family to farm, and you're meeting people in the town. And this is one of my favorite tropes, where it's a small town, everybody kind of knows each other, everyone's in each other's business, and you're really trying to figure out, what's happening. But this was a really good book. I would say this really reminded me of, in some ways it really reminded me of It. It wasn't as intertwined, it wasn't as, I would say, emotional, I guess, as It is, but it is really good, and I did really enjoy it. It was a super fast read. I can't remember exactly how long it was, but it's just something that you'll really get into. And it happens like in October, and then it goes into Halloween. So I really enjoyed that because obviously I love Halloween. And then we have The Reddening by Adam Nevill. Also another book I wasn't planning on reading, but it was free. So this is a book about, this is more of a, almost like a cosmic horror slash cultish book, but this is about some people that go missing as they're looking into some artifacts that were found. But this was a really interesting book. It was really long. This book was really long, but I still liked it. I really did enjoy this, and I like Adam Nevill. There is a movie on Netflix called The Ritual by him, and it's based on the book that he wrote, which I wish I would have read that book before I watched the movie, but the movie's phenomenal, so I'd recommend that too. But this book was really good, and it was really, it almost reminded me kind of like, I don't know, almost like an Indiana Jones, but a really dark version, to where you're finding, I haven't actually seen Indiana Jones, so I'm not really sure about this reference. But to me, in my mind, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, you're finding all these artifacts, and you're finding this very strange way of life, and it's kind of out in the open, but it's kind of hidden. So that's what I really enjoyed about this book. And the writing was really good. You get invested into the characters, and you really feel for them. You really want to know what's going on. There's some brutality in this book that is very reminiscent to like Kin and things like that. So if you're looking for more of a body horror, I guess you could say, this would probably be a really good one. And then we have The Slade House by David Mitchell. And this was also on my Halloween TBR. And this, I would say, is probably more of a dark fantasy. I wouldn't say this is super horror, but this is about a house that you can only get to, I think it's every 9 years on Halloween night or something like that. And it's basically allowing people in and kind of turning their lives upside down. But this was an interesting read. It wasn't super interconnected. I almost felt like it was a bunch of short stories all happening in the same place. But it wasn't bad. It wasn't my favorite. It was kind of more middle of the road. But it was enjoyable. And for Halloween, it's a good haunted house story if you're wanting something that's not as grotesque or as disturbing as maybe a Hell House. Okay, so next we have The October Boys by Adam Millard, and this is a story about 4 young boys. They are trick-or-treating one night, and one of them gets kidnapped by this deranged ice cream man. So this book was on my Halloween TBR. It didn't really live up to what I was expecting of it. I had such high expectations for this book. I thought it was going to be more of like maybe like a coming-of-age story with a creepy haunted ice cream man, but it was... The story was good. Like, I felt like maybe if he would have delved more into like the characters or how their relationships within each other, I would have liked it more. The ending was way too short too. So this was kind of disappointing. I was really disappointed with this book. I was so excited to read it, and then it just kind of fizzled out. So, well, it's just okay. Okay, so last but not least, we have Exquisite Corpse by Poppy Z. Brite, and this book was also on my most disturbing books I've ever read, because it's one of the most disturbing books I've ever read. And like I said in that video, I'm not necessarily telling you to read this book. I'm just telling you it was grotesque, and it's probably going to be the most disgusting thing you've ever read. And if there's something more disgusting, I don't want to read it. Someone had mentioned The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum, and I was like, no. Not gonna get me again. But this book is about 2 serial killers. They kind of meet and they join in their serial killerness of enjoying to do serial killer things. But this book was grotesque. It was just nasty. I mean, and it's not like it's not being described to you. You are describing it because you're doing it. You're feeling it. You're thinking it. You're enjoying it. You're relishing in the fact that you're doing this to somebody else. So this is not necessarily something that I'm like, oh yeah, you should go and read it. But if you're wanting to really just be disgusted, I mean, that would be definitely the book to do it. But so that's what I've read so far, I guess, recently, I guess. And I forgot I was going to rate them, so I'm just going to do a rapid fire just if you're kind of curious as to what rating I would give them. But The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson, I would definitely give that a 9. Phenomenal. Absolutely loved it. It's probably almost a 10, but I'll do a 9 just because there were some things that just off the top of my head, that was like, well, so, and then we have Slade House by Richard Matheson, also a 9 because that book was phenomenal. If you need a haunted house book, that's got to be the one because it's so good. And then we have The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving, a classic. I would probably give that an 8. I would definitely, and that's something that you can listen to with your family, which is very hard to find. And then we have The Narrows by Ronald Malfi. I'd give that a strong 7. The Reddening by Adam Nevill, also a strong 7. Slade House by David Mitchell, a 5. And then October Boys by Adam Millard, I'd probably give that more of a 4. And then Exquisite Corpse, I'm not giving him any stars because it was so nasty. And I should have known better before I read that, but you know, curiosity kills the cat, so what do you do? But so if you liked any of those books or if you thought that they might be good reads, let me know in the comments and let me know what you're reading, and hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.